Tonight on To The Point, a police officer hits and kills a father.
I just miss my dad. I wish they didn't take him.
The officer now pleading guilty to a crime. PG&E owes wildfire survivors more settlement money. Why President Biden could have a say on what's being paid. Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia on the rise. The local hate incident investigations underway. And honeybee swarms. The calls to remove them are on the rise.
Good evening. This is To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. He was a father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Just over a year ago, Denzel Broadhurst was hit and killed by a Sacramento police officer, and now that officer is pleading guilty to the crime. Tonight, Becca Habegger shows us what happened and what comes next.
I just miss my dad. I wish they didn't take him.
That was the daughter of 61-year-old Denzel Broadhurst speaking to ABC 10 last year at a memorial for her dad.
I'm crushed. I wish I would have got to spend some time with him.
This father and grandfather, who had just become a great-grandfather, was killed on Halloween night in 2022 while riding a motorcycle. Investigators say an on-duty Sacramento police officer made a U-turn in the middle of a neighborhood without turning on the car's emergency lights or siren. They say the officer, Benjamin Gilson, was heading to a call about a felony in progress. Video from a home security camera shows what happened.
The cop was making a U-turn, and when my dad was going this way, he obviously didn't even look in front of him because my dad has a really bright headlight. So he literally just turned right in front of my dad, and my dad didn't even have time for brakes or anything.
It happened on Bell Avenue east of Rio Linda Boulevard in North Sacramento's Robla neighborhood. The in-car camera did not capture the accident, but Officer Gilson turned on his body-worn camera after the crash. In the video, Gilson calls for an ambulance and tries keeping Broadhurst conscious.
Okay, hey sir, stay with me.
Broadhurst was pronounced dead at the hospital later that night.
We're so sorry that this happened to any person, especially him. He was a very good person.
In Sacramento Superior Court Thursday morning, Officer Gilson pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of vehicular manslaughter without gross negligence. His sentence is 90 days in county jail, which he won't have to serve if he instead completes 100 hours of community service for veterans organizations, which the family requested to honor Broadhurst. The district attorney's office says that was a plea deal offered by the judge, and the DA's office objected to it, calling it too lenient. An attorney representing the family told ABC 10 in a statement, "The family remains devastated over the loss of Denzel. They can now at least put the criminal and civil cases behind them and move forward with the healing process." Earlier this year, the family had filed a civil lawsuit against the city and officer. In August, Sacramento City Council members approved a $2 million settlement, according to the law firm representing the family.
And Becca Habegger with us now. Becca, we know that officer is still employed with the Sacramento Police Department, right?
Yeah, Alex, a department spokesperson tells us now that the criminal proceedings have been adjudicated, an internal investigation is underway. They say Officer Gilson has about 3 years of service with the Sacramento Police Department.
All right, Becca, thank you so much for that story tonight. And tonight, a deadly house fire in South Sacramento is now a homicide investigation. Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies say this happened around 4 this morning on Del Norte Avenue. They found a man with a gunshot wound.
Obviously presented with a whole new set of challenges, dealing with the fire, dealing with all the other obstructions that have occurred as a result of that fire.
And arson investigators are looking into the incident. Tonight, the Secretary of State has moved forward to allow signatures for a possible ballot initiative involving care for transgender youth. This is video from when that initiative was announced by the group Protect Kids California earlier this year. If passed, schools would be required to report changes in students' expressed gender, ban transgender girls from competing in girls' sports, and prohibit the use of hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and genital surgeries for minors across the state. The group now has 6 months to gather the needed signatures to make the November 2024 ballot. California wildfire survivors are one step closer to keeping more of their future PG&E settlement money. Tonight, our Devin Truby explains.
Alex, survivors of the PG&E's wildfires may not have to pay federal taxes on money they received through the PG&E Victims Trust. The bill is making its way through Congress, and President Biden will have to sign it into law. While survivors already do not need to pay state taxes on the money under a law signed by Governor Newsom, they feel the deal negotiated by the governor with PG&E still doesn't make them whole.
Myself and my family got alerted by our house on fire.
Will Abrams survived the 2017 Tubbs fire, one of the deadliest fires in California's history.
Sheriff's Office!
By the time it was over, 22 people were killed and 5,600 homes were destroyed, including Abrams.
God damn!
Abrams is one of the 70,000 people receiving money from the PG&E Fire Victims Trust and is currently being taxed by the federal government on the settlement.
Victims need this. They're trying to put food on the table, trying to make ends meet, and this unfair tax really needs to be pushed aside so that their settlement money isn't taxed as if it's earned income.
Now there's an effort to change that. A bipartisan bill authored by Democrat Congressman Mike Thompson and Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa would make PG&E fire victim settlements exempt from taxes.
They didn't even get enough money to rebuild their homes. And then on top of that, they were taxed. I think that's wrong.
Richard Lane also lost his house in the Tubbs fire.
So nobody knew that aspects of our settlements would be taxable.
Some of the settlement money, like compensation for lost property, isn't subject to tax, but survivors are being taxed on the money they received for emotional trauma.
Don't have a law that makes attorney's fees or emotional distress non-taxable. I am looking at a 5-figure tax liability bill.
Victims like Abrams and Lane have been deferring their federal taxes. Lane has run the numbers and knows he most likely won't receive his full settlement. PG&E paid the Victims Trust half in cash, half in PG&E stock, which hasn't done as well as projected. He says taxes make that hit even worse.
Hoping that we will achieve 70% of our settlements. And there's no word from the Fire Victims Trust as to when they might sell more stock. Only getting 70% to start with, and then the federal government is taking a third.
If this bill doesn't make it to the president in time, Congressman Thompson says victims will be refunded the amount they were taxed. If this does become a law, it would also apply to survivors of critical disasters such as hurricane survivors and those recovering from the train derailments we saw earlier this year.
And Devin, we know that making this a law could take time. Can you explain what survivors are asking for in the meantime?
Oh, absolutely, Alex. Good point. Now, their latest tax deferment deadline is set to expire in 2 weeks. So they're asking their congressman and the IRS to continue to defer until this becomes a law, because being refunded could also take a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly right. Devin, thank you so much for this update. We appreciate it. And next Wednesday marks 5 years since the Camp Fire, believe it or not, and PG&E power lines sparked the fire, killing 85 people. Paradise and Concow were destroyed, and today dozens gathered on the steps of the state capitol to reflect on the disaster. Officials spoke about recovery efforts and rebuilding challenges.
With any disaster like this and with this magnitude, housing has been a huge issue, and it still continues to be an issue. So while we're recovering, while approximately 1/3 of the houses have either returned or are in the building or in the permitting stages, there's a long way to go.
The mayor of Paradise says he plans to welcome people in January for a tour so they can see what's been done in the last 5 years. We will have coverage of the 5-year mark right here on ABC 10 throughout the day Wednesday. Coming up onto the point, state issued money is disappearing. We take you out live as people are demanding answers.
Warm temperatures in the mid-70s and even low 80s out there today, well above average. How long it's going to last and how cool we could get into next week.
And later, a rise of religious-based hate crimes. The recent incident investigators are looking into.
They're scared to go to class, and they're scared to wear any outward identification of their religion.
A project to increase Northern California's water storage capacity by 15% reached a major milestone today. The Bureau of Reclamation says that they have finalized plans for the site's reservoir located in Colusa and Glenn counties near Maxwell. And this project will take years. And Carly, we know we had a great water year. How are we looking for this year now?
Yeah, we're kicking off the new water year. It began October 1st, and now we're starting to see some of the rain coming in through the pipeline. It's slow and steady. It hasn't been huge downpours, but remember last year we saw it coming in early as well, but we saw the biggest downpours and the heaviest rain and snow kicking off as we started really Christmas week into New Year and then the start of next year. So we have a little time to start accumulating that rain. Warm and mild moving into the weekend. We have our best shot for showers. Really, it's going to be about Sunday into Monday morning and even Monday evening, extending into those evening hours. But remember, we do fall back as the time does change on Sunday, so you get that extra hour of sleep. The high pressure system is in place for the southwest here, and that is pushing the jet stream just into central California. That means most of the showers are remaining north of Sacramento, although we could see a sprinkle or two, maybe a few more drops for areas like into Marysville as well as Yuba City. Another low pressure system out to sea, expected to bring in more of those clouds for the weekend. And then again, those chances for some showers as we move into Sunday and Monday. Again, here the clouds rolling in, and most of the showers that even headed our way, we thought we'd get a nice solid line. They've started to dissipate, so not looking so good when it comes to trying to get some of the showers headed our way. Moving into the overnight hours, mostly cloudy skies, a nice Friday night football weather, nice Saturday weather with cloudy conditions as well. Sunday morning, we could get a few sprinkles here and there. Otherwise, that's the extent of that until we get into Monday. You're looking at most of the rain arriving really around 1 p.m. and into the evening hours. Could see the higher snow totals there at those peaks above 7,500 feet. Our 10-day forecast, we'll see mid to low 70s for the weekend, then 60s arrive next week.
Next, onto the point, disappearing benefits, how some in Sacramento are taking action to get their money back. And what's the buzz with honeybees being found in unusual places? New tonight, the U.S. House approved a bill to send nearly $14.5 billion in military aid to Israel, and it does not include humanitarian assistance for Gaza and calls for spending cuts to the IRS. And President Biden says he will not approve this version of the bill. As the Israel-Hamas war continues, reports of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are on the rise across the country, including right here in Northern California. Tonight, our Bridget Bijorlo looks at one incident in Davis under investigation.
Acts of religious-based hate on full display across the U.S. following the attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th. This week, the director of the FBI warned that anti-Semitism nationwide is reaching historic levels, a near 400% spike according to the Anti-Defamation League, and we're already seeing it close to home.
In many ways, it feels like the kind of anti-Semitism that Jewish people experienced prior to the Holocaust.
On Monday, police in Davis say they discovered an anti-Semitic symbol spray-painted on a wall. 10 days before that, the chancellor of UC Davis condemned a social media post allegedly made by a professor that threatened Jews, even including a knife and blood drop emojis.
How can any young person feel safe being in the classroom with somebody like that? And that's the kind of statements you're getting, these sort of wildly violent statements from people.
Barry Broad is the president of the Jewish Federation of Sacramento and says rising hostility against the Jewish community has many living in fear, especially on college campuses.
And they're scared to go to class, and they're scared to wear any outward identification of their religion, like a Star of David. They're essentially hiding.
And as the conflict in the Middle East intensifies, Muslims in the U.S. are also on heightened alert, with reports of Islamophobia up nearly 200%, according to the Council on American Islamic Relations.
People are afraid. Kind of reminds, the folks that were around during 9/11. Of just the atmosphere at the time. And
Bassem Akura is from the Gaza Strip and says he's already lost a number of family members in the war. And through his personal pain, he's calling on Californians to come together and speak up for peace.
It's just a very, very tense time right now. Emotions are very high. We condemn Islamophobia, we condemn anti-Semitism, because one endangers everyone.
Investigators are asking anyone with surveillance cameras in the area to come forward. You can leave an anonymous tip. Former President Trump's eldest son, Don Jr. and Eric, testified in their father's civil trial in New York today. Both are denying any involvement in their father's financial statements. Eric Trump is expected to face more questions about a 200-acre estate that the Attorney General claims was inflated. The former president and former First Lady Ivanka Trump are expected to take the stand next week. In your price points, many of you have reached out to us over the past several months saying that your money on state-issued debit cards used for CalFresh and CalWorks is disappearing without being able to use it. The reimbursement process is long and daunting, and now many in Sacramento are taking action. Our Garshpal Sangha joins us live where people are demanding answers. Garshpal, what's going on tonight?
Yeah, Alex, frustration really boiling over. A county employee tells me that the EBT cards continue to be skimmed, and we're here at the Sacramento County Human Assistance Office on Research Drive in North Sacramento. A lot of people packing this building, demanding some sort of answers as their funds were stolen. And for many, this was the first time. And as you can imagine, they're upset as only a few pennies and a few dollars left in their account when they're expecting a few $1,000s. It is causing a hardship for many people who rely on that CalFresh and or CalWorks stipend to pay rent and or buy food for their families. And employees on site tell me skimming of the cards has been an ongoing problem, but over the past 2 months, it has only intensified as they can't really do anything about it. The only way this problem is going to get fixed is if the state or the federal government gets involved. And here's what a few people who had their funds stolen had to say.
Like, I went to go get the money off my card, it's gone. And so when you come in here, they say, yeah, we see it's been taken off in Baltimore, Maryland at 6 o'clock. 300 was taken off, 400 was taken off. They know automatically where it's coming, where it's getting skimmed from.
Landlord don't want to hear, I don't have the money. You know, that's going to put a lot of people on the streets. Then they telling us we got to wait 10 business days. Like, if we got to wait 10 business days, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why should we have to wait 10 business days to pay our bills when, you know, these benefits are supposed to be automatically hitting our cards?
And now it is not known how much the thieves have stolen to date, but when we did the story back in early September, the number we got was more than $86 million that the thieves have stolen from these two programs. So that number is only expected to rise. So we're going to have much more on this story tonight on Late News Tonight at 11. Alex.
And it is an issue that we will continue to follow. Garshpal, thank you. You might remember this picture. Bees were removed from a building in Rio Linda just last month. The person that removed them says that the comb was ginormous. And it turns out that calls like these are not uncommon this year. Swarms have taken over very unique places. And one beekeeper tells me that removal calls have reached new highs.
Thanks to all the rain this past winter and an incredibly warm spring, you might have seen bees.
We're very well pollinated this year. The flowers took advantage of it, and the honeybees took advantage of the flowers.
Daniel Schoenthal runs a honeybee rescue group called Blue Green Horizon.
I study bees.
He's the guy you call when you need to move bees.
We have bees everywhere. The Sacramento Valley almost always has a surplus of honeybees. And as far as we know, this is the only place in the world where that concentration happens.
Typically, he gets a few hundred calls a year to relocate bees. This year, his call load more than doubled.
The difference between 2022 and 2023 was about 280% increase. We had 2.8 times more swarm calls. That means we have a lot of bees. A lot of people saw bees. A lot of people have bees living with them now.
He says there's not enough old hollow oak trees for bees to live in. He's busy removing them from homes.
We have bees in houses, bees in water meters, bees in chimneys. We've got them in compost bins and barbecues. But there's reasons that bees go into those places. One, carbon is an attractant to them. The key to honeybees is don't be a black bear. We don't huff on a nest. Never blow on bees, because they will respond to carbon dioxide.
Calls for swarms and new developments are also higher this year.
Before the home even got finished, you know, they're anxious. They don't know if it's an escrow or not.
While having a surplus of bees can be great for the environment and our food, Daniel says it is a double-edged sword because beekeepers can't get to all of them.
This is the bee hospital when I have really small, sick hives, so I can take extra good care of them. The biggest issue we have is structures, is the hole left in the wall from the satellite cable in your garage wall. Bees want a 5 to 10 gallon space. One of the myths that everybody says, well, if you don't do anything, they'll go away. Yeah, but they'll probably go in. They just don't leave. They're looking for a place to go in. So the best thing to do is call fast.
And here's the deal. Local beekeeping clubs are tracking swarm calls. They created a list of people that you can call to remove those bees, so you can report a swarm on sacbeekeepers.org. We have a link on our website right now on abc10.com/tothepoint. We're back after this. It's Dia de los Muertos, and viewer Janine sent us this photo of Anita Moya del Pino. She said, quote, "I taught with this brilliant woman who brought the sun, the moon, and the stars into her gifted and talented classroom for 9 years." We also had another viewer who sent this photo of Paul Silva, saying he was a hardworking man that loved and cared for his wife, children, and grandchildren. Thank you so much for sharing your photos with us. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.